Welcome, everybody. Thank you so much for joining us today. Greatly appreciate your time and your patience as we've been going through the Peer Mediation Conference. Welcome to 34th Annual Peer Mediation Conference, Adventures in Peer Mediation. The Peer Mediation Conference has been bringing together youth peer mediators for over 30 years. This is the first year the conference has gone virtual to connect peer mediators around Hawaii and others aspiring to develop their own peer mediation program. My name is Jose Barzola from the Mountain Lion Institute for Peace at the University of Hawaii at Manoa. This year's Peer Mediation Conference is brought to you as a collaborative of 22 different organizations around Hawaii that support this conference that is spread out throughout the month of April. The Peer Mediation Conference consists of an opening panel, 16 skill workshops, and a closing panel. You can definitely learn more about our events at matsunaga-institute.eventbrite.com. Today's event will focus on the skill workshop on We All Feel These Things with Annaleah Atkinson. Thank you for joining us to learn about peer mediation skills. The session is an opportunity to come learn how to be emotionally literate, that you can take care of yourself and loved ones better. Annaleah found that there was a 40% decrease in school police detainments in schools that had peer mediation programs. She also discovered that students had a difficult time expressing their feelings, needs, and wants. So we're here to learn the basic feelings and needs that all humans have and how to express what you need. Annaleah Atkinson has been trained as a mediator since 1998 after her son became trained as a peer mediator himself. And she was so impressed with what he learned. She then co-taught peer mediation in and volunteered as a mediator for the Kauai Economic Opportunity mediation program. She directed the Kauai Teen Courts program and taught peer mediation in schools in Kauai. She became the KEO program director and is retiring actually at the end of today's session. So we are very thankful to have her with us, and just it's a true joy. So thank you so much for being here. And without further ado, I'm going to turn it over to our good friend Annaleah.
Hi, I can't like Jose, we're committed to peace and particularly with the kids. If we get them, right at the beginning, then they don't have to learn, through entanglements with the police and everything. And that was how I came into it, with deciding to teach mediation in the schools in Kauai. My son and I had taken mediation training in North Carolina in '98. We moved over here in 2003, and I ended up volunteering for Teen Court because Teen Court is a program that uses restorative justice rather than, okay, you're going to go to family court and you're going to be heard and you got to do this and that and the other thing. Who would hear you would be a jury of your peers. Yes, there was a stand-in judge. We had actual judges from the court because part of it was for kids to learn what the court was, but the kids would come up with what they need to do to make it right. That's the important thing, is how do I repair the harm? Isn't that really what the victim would want? Anyway, how do you make that right? Okay, if I'm a store owner, pay me back what you took. If you've stolen from me, if it's assault and there's bills, you pay them. Or anyway, so it was great. It was really a great experience. And so then I decided I would put peer mediation in. That we have 3 major public high schools and 3 middle schools. And so I went about, there were 4 of them that actually accepted it, were happy to have it. And I kept records. Because all of our referrals were from the police department, the teen court referrals. And I found out that there was a 40% fewer referral rate from the police department in the kids that had, from the year before, from those who had a peer mediation program. Because if you're having a problem with a friend, in some schools, you can go right to the peer mediation team. And we have a wonderful story about, and this wasn't about teen court. This was just Waimea High School here. There was an issue with the homecoming court, whatever problem it was. The administrators talked to the kids to try to work it out. The counselors talked to the kids to try to work it out. And the principal says, well, we have a peer mediation team. Let's try that. And guess who resolved it? The kids. The peer mediators help them talk it out. Maybe they could say things to the kids that they couldn't otherwise. Stump for peer mediation in your schools. I mean, it really is a kinder, gentler way. And whoever gets trained to be a peer mediator, they're going to be effective for the rest of their lives. Everybody loves son. I mean, because he's heard things and they talk to him and it's really great. So anyway, so the next story is when this is what made me think, oh, I got to work on kids getting to understand their needs and their feelings. I had 2 boys come in from a middle school and they were both busted for fighting with each other, right? That's a misdemeanor. That's assault 3. So anyway, I had created an anger management program by my husband happened to teach alternatives to violence for the YWCA in the county. And so I had looked at that and I had done some research on my own. I had stumbled upon nonviolent communication because that's really what we use. That's what we want our disputants to use when they're mediating. We speak respectfully. That's one of the 3 ground rules for us. One person speaks at a time. You speak respectfully and no interrupting. So anyway, I decided I would demonstrate mediation with these 2 boys. So, and they were fine with that. You know, they gave permission. I think there were 6 or 8 in the class. I'm not sure. So the 2 of them were going through this and we were going through the different steps and we were going through, you know, so what do you need? I don't need nothing. Well, we all have needs, not me. I don't need anything. And so I was able to go and you're going to see where I did it. I traced it back to what he fought about was respect. You know, and the interesting thing that came up in this mediation that the boys discovered is that they had been good friends. They had been good friends. And this 3rd boy came in and he told this one, this guy wants to fight you. He wants to fight you outside the cafeteria, or wherever it was, in the quad, I don't know, after school today. And he's like, what? I don't get it. Really? He says, yeah, people are going to be there, so you better be there. And then he told the other guy, I just spoke to so-and-so, and he wants to have a fight with you after school, you know, at the cafeteria. I think it was outside the cafeteria or something. He goes, what? That doesn't seem right. But they both didn't want to lose face. Well, then isn't that a need? Isn't that a need? Do you want to be respected? Oh my gosh, you know. So that was like a double whammy for the boys because they recognized that it was respect. Yes, I do have a need to be respected. I want to be respected by my peers. I do. That's important to me. And that is a basic need that we all have. And then the other thing was, why that son of a gun, you know, for him to do that. And we're the ones that got in trouble. So, you know, we asked the kid, my question was, well, tell me, did you get what you wanted? Did you get the respect? Oh no, I brought shame to my family. And here I am on a nice day, you know, learning anger management. But anyway, so they actually were affected by it. So anyway, I used, and I guess we could go ahead and show the feelings and needs slide you've got there. And we'll just start with the very first thing. Like I teach, okay, so when I taught, after I had these boys, every time I taught peer mediation, I made this form up. It was basically from, I want to give credit to the right guy, Dr. Marshall Rosenberg, who has written lots of, he's written a book on, you know, anger management. But his big thing is nonviolent communication and becoming empathetic. listening to what the other person is saying, really taking that in, and then responding with I statements, not, well, you shouldn't think that, or you that. It's like, well, I feel such and such. I feel comfortable when I'm with people who listen to me. Would you be willing to listen to me when we have conversations? That's just an example. But here's these top two lines are basically teaching some emotional literacy. These are words, you ask kids, okay, what are emotions that you have? Mad, sad, glad. It's like we could expand that a little bit, and so there's more. So normally in my classes, I'd have a child or somebody. Yeah, this is it. We feel good when our needs are met and feel bad when they're not. So I can say to someone, are you feeling good? No, not so much. Okay, so what do you need to take care of yourself? And then they would go ahead and say what it was. And now this is a concept that can be learned by 4-year-olds. I had become a mediator, and I was substitute teaching in a very progressive preschool. And that was the question. When a child would come up either crying or angry or whatever, they'd say, what do you need to take care of yourself? In other words, bring it on you, you tell me. Well, these two kids were playing on the playground, 2 little girls. Next thing I know, they're coming up to me, and one of them is like this is really sad, and the other one is coming up like this, like, oh, the neutrality button kicked in, so I was okay. And I looked and I said, well, what do you need to take care of yourself? Immediately she stopped crying and she sat up straight. That was like a trigger for her. And she said, well, we were playing house, and I was the little girl and she was the mama. And then she came and she did this all over my tummy, and it really scared me, and I don't like it. And I asked her to stop. And I said, did she stop? And she said, yes. I said, okay, so you need her not to touch you. Is that what you want? Yes, not there, not on my tummy. Okay. Can you not touch her on her tummy? Yes. And what do you need from her? Well, in my family, we play tickle belly. That's what mommy and daddy do with us, and I was just trying to be the fun mommy doing tickle belly with you. I didn't mean to hurt you. And I need a hug. Well, can you give her a hug? Gave her a hug, walk off, holding hands, back to the playground. But it's as simple as that. It's absolutely simple as that. And you can remember that story because it's gone around the block. People have liked that story. So you feel good when your needs are met, and you feel bad when they're not. So let's look at some of the feelings we have when our needs are met. And this is just helping them expand. This is emotional, giving them words for emotional literacy. I feel happy. I'm comfortable. You could maybe say peaceful as well. I feel confident, hopeful, and there's peaceful again. Trustful. Trust is a big issue, particularly with teens and newlyweds. Anyway, thankful. I'm so grateful. I feel good. I feel thankful. I'm inspired. I've seen something, maybe, I know, I get inspired on Facebook. People send me these amazing things. I'm in a group called Love Succeeds, and I get inspired by this stuff. Or proud. I feel good because, I did good today, and I feel safe. It's sad in a way. I have a granddaughter who's 11 and one who's 6 over on Oahu. The little 6-year-old cannot go to sleep at night. She lives on the 39th floor. That's up there. And the windows have to be closed. She's afraid someone will climb in the windows and hurt her. So this pandemic and things that are going on, and the news and things, I hope that people can feel safe, as much as possible. So any questions about these four? Oh, we don't do questions, do we? Do we do questions? Y'all good?
They can put questions in the chat, but I don't believe we have any questions at the moment.
Okay, so if I just open the chat, okay.
Oh, wait, I do have a question here.
Oh, I do. How did I get the teenage boys to open up, and on a bigger scale? How do you get resolution, I'm guessing?
Yeah, resolution.
When someone does not want to express their needs. All right. Well, I had a relationship with these boys over time. I had called their families, with offering them a chance to come to teen court. And, I think it really helps if you do have a relationship and they trust you. It's like, hey, you don't have a record, then you can get a college scholarship. If you got a police record, in some places you can't get a college scholarship, and we just want you to learn from your experiences. Everybody makes mistakes, and you're going to be better, when you finish this. And I don't know, I haven't really had a problem with people not opening up their feelings. So if I'm going around in a circle and doing something, I'll say, okay, well, you think about it some more. And we'll go around, and there's always the people that are willing to talk and share, and I got this and I got that. And so then that might encourage the ones who are not, able to right off the bat share their things. Okay, and let's see. I agree, building the rapport and maintaining relationship is so, yes. Okay. All right. So we all get these good feeling words, and you understand that, and you use them with the kids, and then they get that. All right. How we feel when our needs are not met, and they just get mad, sad, scared is another one. So here we have, this is for all ages. This is basically Marshall Rosenberg has this whole thing online, but I kind of adapted it for kids. I took out the things about, because in North Carolina,
I believe we're having some technical. Oh, there, you're back. Okay, last we heard was in North Carolina.
Oh, in North Carolina, they don't talk about sex with kids in anything other than health class. So I couldn't do anything like that. So I took out references to freedom to express, our sexuality in the way that we choose here. But you can go, if you want to, Google and see other lists of feelings and needs. But this has worked pretty well, I have to say. So here are some words that we have. Okay, impatient, disrespected. That's the big one. Confused. And that's okay to be confused. And I have sometimes used that. Are you confused? Can I help explain something to you? So that they can get clear about different things. Scared, hopeless is the one. Hawaii has the highest suicide rate in the nation for adolescents. And that is very often comes with feeling overwhelmed. But hopeless, I'm really happy that they're doing a lot of things now with kids, calling, volunteers, kids in schools helping with other people that are depressed, teaching peers what to look for in your friends or what they talk about, which might be an indication that they are feeling suicidal or whatever. Other feelings: uncomfortable, embarrassed, You might not have this problem. I'm Hallie. Bright red face, I would get embarrassed and I would just be the stoplight. But anyway, I couldn't hide that one. Lonely, annoyed. You've got angry and annoyed, and what's the difference? I'm sort of mad at you, but angry as I am, and then I'm furious is another one. I would have kids come up with other words. What other words can you come up with here? What other words? Worried, that relates to scared, but stressed, sad, and guilty. They're finding that guilt is a big problem with people. It can make them very sick. Actually, guilt can really, they're tracking down illnesses, and guilt is one that does it. It depresses your immune system. Okay.
Thank you.
Any questions?
Yep, we do have a question. So
I'm going into the chat here.
Oh, or I can read it off to you, whichever.
Okay.
A similar question about how to build rapport with a participant in mediation who does not want to open up or state their needs. They took a friendly, simple question as an interrogation.
Okay. All right. So that's a sharing. I mean, is that a question? Wait a minute. Oh, I see. I don't have
so the question is, how do you build rapport, I guess, with a participant?
A participant in mediation who does not want to open up to state her needs. All right. So I don't know, a separate session, of course. In other words, you would meet with this person alone, a separate session. And what you can track it, and you're going to track it by the needs and the emotions. You can use one to find the other sometimes, which is how I got the respect from him. Oh yeah, and I'm feeling disrespected, is knowing that is something that was important when we heard the story, when I heard the story and how that worked. So you can also say, is there something you'd like to ask me about? Is there something that you'd like to ask me about a feeling? And let that person direct the conversation. It's another thing you can do. Okay, hope that helps. All right, so moving on to feeling bad. Oh no, basic needs we have. Okay, boy, now more than ever, we can really appreciate this. When we ran out of toilet paper, or we had to stay in our home, think about kids and most of us have yards, most of us have places we can go, but kids in the inner city, not so much fresh air. They had to stay in they'd be quarantined and everything. But we need to nurture ourselves with fresh air, food, water, exercise, touch. You probably understand that everybody needs touch. People were saying you need at least 4 hugs a day or 4 positive touches a day to live, or to be okay, and 8 to thrive. And they had these studies that they did. They didn't actually, it was research. They didn't do studies, but they found in orphanages, when they had abandoned babies, when they just touched them to give them their food, change their diaper and everything like that, they didn't thrive, and some of them died. But when they had people come in and hold them when they fed them the bottle, or when they held their children and played with them and touched them and everything, those kids thrived. And I often think, if you look at kids in elementary school, they're holding hands, they're putting arms around each other, and they're doing that, and that's really cool. And boys can get away with that. But what happens when they get a little older? Boys can't do that. Maybe now they can. I don't know. Some places they can't. There are still certain religions, or there are still certain cultures that don't feel that that's appropriate. So they have to kind of get their physical touch by smacking each other, and if you notice, boys tend to do that. They're kind of rough with each other. They're, hey, and those different kinds of things. But we do need touch and we need rest. The other thing, we need to be protected from the elements, predators, and life-threatening pandemics. Okay. Pretty much that says, that's just flat out Maslow. So just go on. Next. Now, I love to tell kids about how, aren't you glad that you can choose your own dreams, goals, and values? Now, you choose how you want to live your life and fulfill them. There are countries where you cannot. There are some countries where you're given a test and you take a test and wow, you would be a terrific engineer. You would just be a terrific, civil engineer. And you're like, no, I want to be an artist. I use my appreciation for angles and shapes and form in a completely right-brained way, not a left brain, And so these kids, they're put in this track. You are the kids going to go to college. You are the kids that are going to do shop. You are the kids that'll be cosmeticians. That's changing a lot now. But this is a basic need we have, especially it's in our Constitution. The right to life, liberty, and the pursuit of happiness. Well, what you do with your life, you want to be happy with. Okay. And this is too. We want to be able to celebrate the positive in our lives, to have happiness, fun, and laughter. Okay. You got to laugh. All right. Going on. All right. Now this becomes younger kids don't necessarily think about this unless they're, have it kind of brought into them. I want to have a life that is authentically mine, and I want to live my life with integrity. Integrity, that means I'm honest to my word. It means ultimately, I want my life to give me meaning and to give me self-worth, but I want it to be authentically the life that I live. I don't want to make my mom happy all the time. I don't know. I've been one, I was the oldest girl of 4 and I had to be little mom in the house. And then I just followed that track, I just been taking care of people for the rest of my life. Now I'm ready to play. Okay. But the truth is, this really did give me meaning, but I found a way to give it meaning by teaching people to give their own lives meaning and to live with their own self-worth. And I found self-worth in that. Now, this is the one, we don't talk about God, but creator is okay. I kind of modified this to be connected with our creator in the way that we choose and to experience the beauty, harmony, order, inspiration, and peace that come from that. If I'm in a classroom and I'm the only, I don't know, I don't want to pick a religion, but I'm the only person of this sect in my class and everybody else is the same and they're all going to heaven and where they're telling me I'm going to go to the hot place, how can you feel good about that? You need to be able to feel good and experience your direct relationship with your creator and be in a place where that is appreciated. Okay. Our country was founded. What was it? We left for religious freedom. The Pilgrims and the Quakers and all those people, a lot of them came here for religious freedom. Okay. So that's a strong vibe for our country. Next one. Okay. To feel that we have a community of others around us who accept and appreciate us and consider us in their decision-making. What's the opposite of that? that gets kids in big trouble. When they pick on other kids, bullying. We need to feel that we're with people. That community can be, your family. And in Hawaii, family is so much. Ohana is very important here, but some families are not as tight as other families. Some families are way extended and the kids end up with auntie or grandma or whatever, but that's okay. Some are in Hanai families. That's okay, as long as they're your family and you know that they love you and appreciate you and consider us in their decision-making. I'll tell you, I took this course because I was working with the police department with teen court. I was talking about, and I don't remember his name or who it was, but he was teaching rookie cops. All right, rookie cops were going to have a class, and I said, would you like me to share about some feelings and needs and a real quick mediation process? And I used this, and when they first came in, while we were waiting for them to come in, I asked them to write down the last time you felt mad. And so this one police shared, and they put him in a hat, and I pulled it out, and it says, I was mad when my wife bought a truck and didn't consult me about it. Yeah, that's a basic need. You're my partner, and this is a big debt. This is a big decision, and you didn't consult me about it, and it made him mad. Now, here's something that we need to know. The same thing, the same action could make somebody else a completely different emotion. It could have made one guy absolutely sad. Don't I mean anything to you? Why didn't you consider my feelings? I'm as important. I make the money too. Or I could say, well, that was a disrespectful thing that you did. I wouldn't do that without you. I think you disrespected me. So not everybody's going to react the same to a certain stimulation that we have in the world. And what do we tell people? We tell in this resilience training that's big on Kauai now, find people that love you, find people that will stand up with you, find people that you can trust, build your community around you, whether it's, in school, outside school, clubs of interest, Girl Scouts, Boy Scouts, ROTC, 4-H, all those different things. Build that community. And that's nice to know that they're there for you. Student government people, clubs, all of them. Okay, onward. All right. To feel that we can contribute to the enrichment of life more and more as I get older. I don't know, this is for all ages, but there are kids. We have amazing kids right now that are in my little preschool. Okay. That's another thing. I have a master's degree in special education, and I always like teaching preschool because the most learning takes place. That's when they say the brain and the mind is the most elastic. And so one of the things I wanted them to love the earth, and we created an earthworm bed. I got to check my time here, don't I? 2:40. Oh, I got plenty of time. Good. An earthworm bed, which is basically pretty easy. You get a big plastic tub and put some holes in it in the bottom, some newspapers in it, some good mulchy material, get some earthworms. If you know anybody with a stable or a cow farm, you can get them, cover them a little bit with that, and then start giving them food, coffee grounds, eggshells, the food that you know. And then every time they mowed the lawn this was at Eli on the west side, I had little kids and they would run Miss Annaleah, I have to feed the earthworms. And so they, they would do that, but they were contributing to the enrichment of life, in their little Menini way. I love that. Another thing we did was we painted a wall that was just like concrete blocks, and they were only this tall, but a couple of them, they do high, they do low, some held a brush, some had a roller, some had a roller on an extension. We did it adaptive behavior, and then they were so proud of that. I made it beautiful. So then we planted some flowers around the office. And so everybody who would come into the school would see what these little guys could do. And they were proud of those flowers, and they would check them. Kids are connected with life. So anyway, we want to feel we can contribute to the enrichment of life, and we want to feel that we're safe emotionally and that we can trust others and others can trust us. What girls fight about? So I told you something and you weren't supposed to share it, and you told it to other people, and I am really embarrassed. I trusted you. And that is a real issue for people. That is a real, makes them sad and angry and confused and lonely. Who can I trust then? It is important. And there is research that says that if everybody has at least one person in their lives that loves them unconditionally, and that they can trust, absolutely trust, they're going to be a lot healthier than somebody who does not have that. They're going to be, just one person is all that it takes. So we need to feel that we're safe emotionally. And that's why these rules that we're now, it's like with Mazie Hirono, now there's like Asian persecution. So we've gone through all these different things. So she's got a law, and 96 out of 100 senators agreed to pass that law. We don't want to think of there's me and you, them. Oh, time to show my sticker. One of the things that one of the ways I try to get people to do things is to bumper stickers. Here's my bumper sticker. You matter. And if you look at it, it doesn't say Black Lives Matter, White Lives Matter, whatever. You with the big heart in the center, like you. And the letters, black, brown, olive, white, gray, and gay. It's like, it doesn't matter who's reading this. Everybody matters. Everybody deserves the respect of everybody else. I always thought it was ironic that this was a long time ago, in South Africa, which was, they had apartheid, and it was whites versus anybody that was brown or black. The first heart transplant was a black heart into a white man. I love that. So now, are you black? Are you white? We're the same. We're one. Would I not want a person of color to save my child in a beach? Would I not run in if a child of color was drowning and pull her up or pull him up? You never know what's coming up. We just have to get past the outside coats of, this is just skin. So anyway, we matter. So we want people that trust us. Now, next one is important, and it relates, I guess I have a lot of these stickers, but anyway, to feel that people will try to understand us and support us when we need help. In adolescence is when kids become very close. Now you have a lot of friends, but then in your adolescence, you get maybe your best girlfriend or your best guy friend, or a girl and a guy together, but somebody that you really feel, I can tell you anything. and you're going to be there. You're going to have my back. And that is an important thing. And building those things in your classes or your support groups. We had, I went to a school where they had a children of divorced parents group. And that was really an important thing, you know, that children were able to talk to others about that. I believe that all the mediation centers, I know mine does, KEO here, because I did it last night, but every family that is where there's a mother and a father and kids, they don't have to be married, but you know, where they have to go through this Kids First program. And the Kids First just tells them that, you know, no matter what happens, your children need to know that they've got a mother and a father who love them. So put your own stuff between yourselves to the side and help your child, really help your child when they need it. Be there for them, support them, listen to them. And then this last one, that was, I checked after I had those two little boys, whenever there was a assault or a fighting or something like that, I was like, did respect have something to do with this? And I'd say 8 out of 10 times it did. And sometimes it was just misunderstandings. But we do deserve to feel that we have people respect us and are honest with us that way. And these are needs that we have. So when that little boy said he had no needs at all, I'm like, he's just not in touch. How can I help him get in touch? How can we help all kids get in touch so that they can ask for what they need? All right. Now I've said a lot, and maybe other people have things to share too. Let me look at the chat. Are there any more things in there?
No, we don't have any more questions. Not that I see any, but I do want to be conscious of people's time, because we have about a minute left. It's okay. I do just want to, yes, you matter. And
okay, I have a bunch of these things that I don't know. I know one of you already is getting them because you were attended yesterday, but you matter is one. As you sow, you reap. That was what I tried to teach the kids, rather than call each other out. Why don't you do a project together? Do something that's fun that you both love to do. You know, there are these two kids that go around in the neighborhood and they're cutting grass for old people who can't get out. You know, that's a loving thing. They'll receive that. Love succeeds. I believe that. You know, it's certainly worth a try. I've done mediations. I shared this the other day, 2 brothers. You know, they were fighting and fighting and fighting. And at the very end, you know, they were getting close. I want this, I want that, you know. And okay, so the brother said, okay, I'm just going to give him what he wants. He's my brother and I love him. You know, so love succeeds. Never underestimate that power. I had a special needs daughter who, she was 23 when she passed, and she still had the mind of a 7-year-old, but it was a very sweet 7-year-old. And people would line up to hug her, and then the you matter, and then shine, because this is what we're meant to do in the world. This is what we want our kids to do. We want them to feel good and shine, you know, to be confident and to be comfortable and to be thankful and hopeful and feel self-worth. And I'm giving these away.
Thank you so much, Annaleah. I put your email in the chat, so anyone who's interested to request a packet, please email Annaleah, and be sure to put
with your address.
Yes, and she will send you a pack. I just want to close out today's session, but thank you so much, Annaleah. It was wonderful workshop, past 2-1. I just want to congratulate you on everything you're doing. I know you're going to continue on as a volunteer mediator, but try to enjoy, get some rest, enjoy your retirement. I know it's your second or third one that you've mentioned now. So, but last but not least, I do want to thank everybody joining today's webinar. We deeply appreciate your interest and support in joining us to learn about peer mediation program throughout Hawaii at the 34th.
Well, I hope it's been helpful for people. I really do. I hope it has. I hope it's something that you can use, download it or go online or write your own or,
Most definitely.
anyway, I know you'll make a difference.
Thank you again, everybody. Thank you for everything you do. And I look forward to seeing you at future events.